called Smart Talks Podcast with Benjamin
and Cassidy, and today we'll be talking about fad diets.
Awesome. So, I'll let you start off, because this was a topic you wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah. So, a fad diet definition is a diet that's just popular at the time, similar to the fads in fashion. And it's known for being like, oh, rapid weight loss, you'll lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, or something really nonsensical like that. And I think it's something that's really unhealthy, at least in the health industry, because it gives really unrealistic expectations, like we talked about last week. With weight loss, you do need to be very realistic about your goals, and fad diets give the opposite effect. Like, oh, I've been dieting for 4 days, why am I not down 5 pounds? Type of thing.
Right. And I think that's why a lot of people like fad diets, though.
Yeah.
Because it's quick, it's easy, quote unquote, and all you got to do is follow their step-by-step guide that they give you. But that's part of the problem, though, right? So fad diets are great, they work, but they only work for as long as you do them, and that's the problem, right? Because people typically will lose whatever goal they're trying to get to, or they get to the waistline they're trying to get to, they'll get the physique they're trying to get to, and then they stop.
Yeah. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm down the weight that I need to. I can eat exactly as I was before I started my diet, and that's not the case, because you're going to balloon right back up, and then you're going to need another diet. And yo-yo dieting is extremely unhealthy because your body doesn't know what to do with itself. Because during times of feast, I guess, it's going to overload because you're overeating, you get a lot of fat deposits, and then when you're going through famine, your body goes into what's called like starvation mode, where it also tries to store fat in order to survive.
Right, and fad diets, depending on what they are, there's a lot of them out there. And it's ironic to me that something that's supposed to be helpful for someone ends up hurting them in the long run because they don't stick with the program, or the program they've chosen to go to has bad health benefits to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to think. I guess a lot of people like them. Like I said at the start, just because of how easy they are. And it's a step-by-step guide. They literally tell you, hey, here's step 1, eat these foods. Here's step 2. You don't even have to work out in some of these cases, right? And all of it's like, hey, like, for instance, Nutrisystem. Nutrisystem does this fairly well, I would say, where they say, hey, sign up for our program. We'll give you all the meals you want to eat for the day, and it'll have X number of calories in it, and it'll be delicious, right? And you're guaranteed to lose X number of pounds in periods of time. What they don't tell you is that a lot of their stuff has some form of preservative in it, or the foods that they're giving you are completely restraint when it comes to certain nutrients and vitamins, because they had to take out some of the things they needed.
Yeah. And those meals are like, what, maybe 200 calories?
Depending on what it is, of course.
Yeah. And there's a lot of fad diets out there, like something called OMAD, where it's 1 meal a day, where you eat all 2,000, you eat however much you can once a day, and that's it.
That seems a little counterintuitive to how your body works, and let me go into a little depth about that. So, eating 1 meal a day, I know several people who do that, and most of them have maintained the exact same body weight that they did when they started the diet, or when they started the diet, they lost like that initial 20 or 30 pounds that they were already overweight with. And because they were restricting themselves so much, their body got rid of it over time. They're like, oh yeah, I lost all this weight and I feel good. But then I look at them and think, well, still have a lot more to go. In some cases. And if you're only eating 1 meal a day, your metabolism can't work.
Yeah. Because
you're slowing your metabolism in order to justify eating this 1 meal, right? When you eat 1 meal a day, your body has to use all those nutrients it gets in that one sitting over the entire day. And if you train your body over a course of a long period of time, let's say several months to a year, of just eating nothing but 1 meal a day, your body's metabolism will sink tremendously. And all that food you eat will just end up getting stored ultimately in the end.
Yeah. Like, I think the closest thing I've ever done to 1 meal a day is, like, a really busy day at work where, I forget to bring a granola bar yogurt for breakfast, and we have, like, a lot of emergencies come in where we don't really get a lunch, and then as soon as I get off work, I'm like, oh my god, I'm starving. I go to Cookout because I'm really hungry. And I mean, I think there's enough calories in a Cookout tray where it's probably lasting you one day, but I always feel terrible the next day.
Yeah, because you're putting bad food into your system, right?
Yeah.
When I was there's a guy I met, and And it's such an obvious statement that your body is like an engine. What you put into it affects it.
Yeah.
It's such an obvious thing, but it wasn't something I thought about until I met a few of the guys I've met through my time.
Yeah.
And it dawned on me after he told me that when you eat things like fast food, you're putting a lot of grease, a lot of salt, a lot of cholesterol and stuff into your diet, you're going to feel awful because you're putting awful amounts of harmful substance into your body.
Yeah, like if I eat fast food too often, I get headaches from all the sodium.
Yeah, or my digestive system doesn't quite like grease.
Oh yeah, no.
One of my other favorite fad diets that people it was like, what was it, that Scott Atkins diet or the carnivore diet.
Oh gosh.
And I think my favorite one that's really taken a hit over these past few years isn't as popular anymore was the ketogenic diet. That was all the rage 2 or 3 years ago.
I think it's still fairly popular.
It might be popular by all means, but just doing any form of basic research into the keto diet, you'll see.
It's not healthy or safe. There's only one type of person who benefits from the ketogenic diet, and that's people who have epilepsy, because ketogenic is going into low carbs, and our brain actually uses carbs or carbohydrates as their energy source. So if your body's not getting as much carbs, you're going to have less brain activity, meaning people with epilepsy are less likely to have seizures. But for those who don't have epilepsy, you're just messing your body up.
Yeah, like the keto diet in particular, because you're eating so much fat, you're getting lower blood pressure, you can get kidney stones, you'll have nutrient deficiencies, you'll start developing heart problems or heart disease. Stricter diets like that can also lead to problems with your pancreas, your liver, and other things like your thyroid, your gallbladder.
Ketoacidosis?
Yeah, ketoacidosis is a big thing with the ketogenic diet. It's so bad to be in that state.
Yeah.
And not to mention the fact that when you're doing these fad diets, especially something like the ketogenic diet, when you're losing weight because of the diet itself, like because it's such a high-fat diet in comparison to your protein and carb intake, your body actually is eating away at your muscles. So a lot of the weight you're losing is muscle, right? Mm-hmm. So you're losing a lot of that density, and because you're using so much fat as a replacement source, right, your body will go through all your muscles. You'll lose an insane amount of weight fairly quickly because you're losing muscle mass, and then your body will start eating away at the fat, but now you're just skinny.
Yeah, instead of slim thick, you're skinny fat.
Yeah, and it becomes a very awkward situation where, yes, you may have lost 50 pounds, right, but how much of that was muscle and how much of that was fat? And when you're losing that much muscle and replacing your main body's, or your main macronutrient of protein that's good for your muscles, good for a lot of daily functions, and you're replacing that with just a plethora of fat, that can only go downhill after so long.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I will never trust a diet that says certain vegetables or fruits have too much carbs.
Yeah, that seems a little counterintuitive. Now, granted, there are things like starchy veggies and non-starchy veggies.
You don't need to eat potatoes every day, no matter how delicious they are.
Yeah, like, of course, there are some things with higher carb content, higher starch content, but nonetheless, those things are still better for you than eating high-fat diets.
Yeah.
Right? And I guess, like with anything, though, eat everything in moderation. Like as we touched on last week, you can eat just about anything you want as long as you stay within a caloric deficit. You'll still lose weight.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're eating things that are calorically non-dense but nutrient-dense, you can eat a lot of them, feel full, and still lose weight. And veggies and fruits are some of the best things you can do to that because they're so light in calories.
Yeah, I think ketogenic diet is especially popular in America because you get to eat a lot of bacon and avocados. And mayonnaise.
Yeah, well, I had a friend who did it, and he said, yeah, I get to eat cheeseburgers, french fries, and all this other stuff all the time. It is great, and I've lost all this weight. And I'm thinking, yes, but I'd love to see what your cholesterol level's at. I'd love to see how your heart's doing. I'd love to see how your liver's processing all this stuff. I'd love to see what's going on with your kidneys. You know, there's a lot of things going on that can't be beneficial for you. And even if your body doesn't have any drastic changes initially, you can't maintain a diet like that for a long period of time. No. After 10 years or so, you'd have to start seeing some kind of drastic change or effect that could go very bad very quickly for you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Health is not just being, like, in a good BMI. You also have to have healthy levels. You have to be getting all your vitamins and macros, and it's a lot more complicated than people think about sometimes.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. We like to think it's so simple to lose weight, or we like to think it's so simple to eat right. But realistically, there's a little bit more nuance to it than just, yes, if I eat fruits and veggies, or if I follow this diet, then I'm going to be healthy. There's more nuance to it than that. And it is complicated, and that's why the fitness industry is so popular and so well-versed when it comes to advertising and things like that. Because they're playing to people's weaknesses.
There's a doggo.
Yeah, there's the dog. But yeah, they're playing to the weaknesses of people by saying, hey, we're giving you a simple outlook into this complicated world, when if you would just do about a week's worth of research, just a week's worth of reading, you could figure out everything you needed to know for whatever your diet or body plan would be.
And that's why I think some of those things like MyFitnessPal and stuff like that can be really helpful, because they're letting you know, like, hey, you're low on this, you're getting too much of this, and I think it can be a good way to help you monitor what you're putting into your body.
Yeah, any kind of tracker works. I personally don't like digital trackers as much, just because, while yes, we do use our phones a lot, it's very inconvenient for me to go, okay, I ate at this restaurant, let me go find at this restaurant, let me go find this exact thing that I ate, let me take off the items that aren't on this item that I ate, and then calculate all that. You do that every single day for every single meal and every single thing that you eat. It gets a little nuanced, whereas if you just do something as simple like calorie tracking, which you don't even have to do really, but it makes things a lot easier, where you just say, okay, mentally, I went and had this salad, right? And this salad had X, Y, and Z things in it, so it came out to be approximately 600 calories, right? So you say, okay, I had a 600-calorie salad, and if my goal is to stay under or at 2,000 calories a day, you now know you have 1,400 calories left. And if you're just smart about what you eat, and you just think about, okay, how many calories do I have left? How much does this particular quantity of food, how much calories would that have? And then you say, okay, how much can I eat? Yeah. You can really cut down on how much you're eating and how much you're putting into your body as a whole as far as total caloric intake.
Yeah, but counter, if you're doing a lot of cooking, I think it'd be a lot easier because you're not looking for specific restaurants. You're like, oh, I used a cup of spinach.
Absolutely.
And I think that would be a lot easier, and I don't know.
No, cooking is definitely simpler because you can control what goes into your food. You control exactly what you're eating. You can control the portions of what you're eating. You can control how much goes into it as far as the recipe goes. And you can control any kind of salts, any kind of spice mixtures, any kind of oils, any kind of fats, any kind of emulsifiers, anything. You control all of that from the start. And if, let's say you have, okay, well, I'm going to have this one meal. It calls for a pound of chicken, and I need to make 4 meals out of this, right? When you do that, you're like, oh, okay, so this 1 pound of chicken is going to last me 4 meals, so that's 1/4 pound of chicken per meal, so I know it's going to have this many calories per serving.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. It's definitely much simpler if you're cooking.
Yeah. And are there any more fad diets you would like to discuss?
Off the top of my head, I could name a few that are just funny to me, like Southwest Beach Bod diet, or the California Dream diet, or the paleo diet.
I honestly don't know anything about paleo.
You're not missing much. Again, like with every fad diet, it's a quick way for you to lose weight, and then you follow this exact strict diet and regimen, right? And it falls into the same traps, just like every other fad diet. If you stop doing it, you gain all the weight back. And here's the other problem. When you sign up for these things, they're usually quite expensive.
Yeah, a lot more expensive than just going to the grocery store.
Yeah, some people spend up to $1,000 a month for these diets, these diet plans, where they send you your meals every day or whatever, or they send you your meals for the week. When if you just go to the store, plan out some meals, or think about healthier things that you like, or just think about foods in general that you like, you can put together meals that are healthy, that are nutritious, that fit your dietary needs, and you can do that for much cheaper.
Yeah, like my last grocery bill was just under $40, and that will last me like a week or two, depending on how smart I am about it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to make good meals, right? And you mentioned this, I think, last week. You make something called a scramble in the morning.
Oh, I love breakfast scrambles.
Yeah, but your scramble's very simple. It's eggs, potatoes, and then...
So whatever veggies I have in the fridge.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's something that's very cheap to make, very easy to make, and it's very nutritious. It's something so simple. And I think that's something that we miss a lot, right? Yeah. Because it's so easy to just go pick up something. It's so easy just to pay one of these commercials all this money to say, hey, we'll give you everything you need so we don't have to do it, right? Now, granted, there is appeal to it, and there's reasons for that. You know, people get busy, people have plans that fall apart, life happens. Maybe you don't get off work till an unnatural time. Maybe you've just finished a 12 to 16 hour shift and you're tired. Yeah. You know, there's always those workarounds, right? But if those are the cases, there's always ways to be healthy beforehand, right? Because you can meal prep, you can cook things the night before, you can plan out your meals a week ahead. I mean, there's a lot of alternatives that you can do.
Yeah, because personally, you know, I usually work Monday through Friday, depending on my schedule. So what I'll do, either Saturday or Sunday, I'll go to the store and I'll cook my food I'll make like a big meal that one day, and I'll eat off it for a week.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right? You found something that works for you, fits your schedule, and it allows you to stay somewhat healthy.
Yeah.
Right? When I was doing my hospital shifts, you know, I'd be working 10 to 12 hour shifts. Right? So I didn't really have a lot of time, so what I would have to do is I'd either have to be cognitive of what was around me as far as food, right? The hospital had a cafeteria, so they had a salad bar, or they always had like your family meal plan, or your sandwich area, or your pizza area. You know, they had a lot of different options, but you have to think about what you're eating, right? You have to be cognitive of what's around. And there are some days, you know, where it's like, okay, well, I know I'm not going to be able to eat all day today, so this is going to be my only meal for today. And that goes back to that 1 meal a day thing. It's not good to do that, but sometimes you have to, especially if you're in a high stress or high impact environment where you're always moving, you don't have a lot of time to rest or sit down. And you have to really think about that. And when going back to what I was doing, though, I would have to get salads a lot of the time, or I would get some kind of grilled chicken plate, or maybe I would go to one of the sandwich bars and say, hey, can I get a grilled chicken sandwich? Or I would try to find something that's just the lowest potential caloric item on the menu that I know could last me a somewhat decent period of time, where I'm not overeating, but I'm not starving myself either.
Yeah. I remember I had to do something like that in my first year of college, because where we went, if you were living on campus, you had to have a all-access meal plan and however many of bucks for it. And, you know, freshman 15, it's a real thing. I worked very hard to avoid that. And, you know, I don't know about you, my high school cafeteria was a nightmare. But, so when we got to college, I was like, oh my gosh, this place is clean, and there's more than just day-old spaghetti and pizza.
Yeah.
So it was very tempting to be like, oh my gosh, I could get a corn dog, and this, and that, and that.
Yeah, especially since they have it set up buffet style in order to feed the large capacity of students.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but, you know, it's something that, again, we don't think about it when we're younger, right? Because we're still young, we still have high metabolisms, we can get away with eating some junkier stuff every now and then.
Yeah.
But we don't think about it as much, and then when you're sedentary and you're eating all this food and you have access to 24/7 food, and it's as much as you want to eat for one set price, it's very easy for you to go, okay, let me just scarf down this donut. Oh, wait, you know what? I'm kind of hungry. Let me grab another one. Or, hey, I had this slice of pizza, but you know what? I'm a little bit hungry. Let me go grab another. Or, hey, I just had a sandwich or these waffles, but I'm still hungry, so let me go grab more. It's too easy to do that, and it's very hard to control yourself when you have every option available to you right there in front of you.
Yeah, so I would always try to see what was healthiest, and then I never went to the dessert bar.
Yeah, and that's always so hard because, especially...
It's right there.
Yeah, and not only was it right
middle.
there in the middle, it was also right beside the exit.
Yeah.
And it was the last thing you walked by as you were going through the exit. It was right there.
It's so easy just to grab a cookie on your way out.
It was, and the same thing goes for grocery stores, though, right? And there's a good rule of thumb, or at least it used to be, was stay on the outside of the store because that covers your produce, your meats, your veggies, fruits, which I guess falls under produce.
Yeah,
and your dairies, right? But now your sugar people have gotten smart about it, or your non-healthy companies that sell chips or things like that, they've gotten smart about it, and they started putting like little stands of like, hey, look at our little stand of cookies here, look at our little stand of donuts, and they'll have them like sprinkled here and there throughout the produce aisle, and it's kind of frustrating because, especially if you're trying to cut that stuff out of your diet or you have a problem with it, and I think a lot of people have problems with sugar and they just don't realize they have one. Like, I have a very bad sweet tooth, right? Yeah. But because I'm aware of that, I can control my urges to not eat the like high sugar stuff, right? Occasionally I'm like, cookie, or ice cream, or milkshake, right? But it's not like it's, okay, every time I go to the store, I got to buy a new box, right? It's, okay, I'm at the store, I'm buying all the things I need, I walk by 16 stands of donuts and cookies and stuff, and I didn't get any, even though I love them and I want to have one. It's bad for me. I know I can't have it, and because I'm aware of my sweet tooth, I can be like, okay, well, I know I have a sweet tooth, and I'm not going to cave into this petty desire to eat something sugary because it makes me feel good.
So, it seems like we've kind of gone off the rails. We're not really talking about fad diets anymore, but we do like talking about health and fitness.
No, but I think this ties in great to fad diets, right? Because fad diets are all about these very strict meal plans, right? Yeah. Or these very strict workout regimens, or these very strict combinations of the two that say you have to eat exactly this, you have to have exactly these macros, you have to have exactly these micros, you have to only eat this one type of food, you have to eat more of these types of foods, right? And I think that plays in perfectly to what we were just talking about. You have to be smart with what you're eating. And having just one particular thing, going back to the keto diet, if you're eating nothing but fat, that's bad for you, right? But if you go to the carnivore diet, eating nothing but protein and red meat and stuff, that's also bad for you. And then if you go to something...
It's terrible for your kidneys.
Yeah, and if you go to something like I can't think of any high-carb diets recently, but...
I don't know, keto's too popular. Carbs are evil.
Yeah, carbs are evil in every... I swear. I have so many people say, oh yes, I'm cutting out carbs, that's how I'm losing my weight. Oh, what diet are you following? Oh, I'm following X diet. They say carbs is bad.
They're really not.
And I'm like, it's only necessary for a lot of your internal functions.
Yeah, like, an excess of carbs is, which that's very common in the U.S. You gotta have your pizza, your breadsticks. Yeah. And, like, every restaurant you go to, here's some bread as a free appetizer. You just constantly get bread handed to you.
Yeah, and it's very easy to eat it.
Oh, yeah, it's bread.
It's bread. It's easy. Who doesn't like bread, right?
Yeah.
But I always laugh when I see people talking about how, oh, yeah, I'm doing the low-carb diet, or I'm doing the no-carb diet, or something like that, right? And they're like, oh, yes, I'm already down 10 to 15 pounds. And the moment they reintroduce carbs into their diet, they gain 5 to 10 pounds back. Mm-hmm. So they ultimately, had they just done a normal diet plan where they maintain a balance of carbs, proteins, and fats, the 5 pounds they would have lost over the same duration ends up being the same amount of weight they lose as soon as they reintroduce carbs.
Yeah.
And it's pointless, right? And again, like I was saying, it ties in perfectly to fad diets because they're all telling you to do this one specific thing to help lose weight or make sure you look exactly like these people in these photos, or to be like your favorite movie star, actress, actor, whatever it may be. Whereas if you just follow very simple dietary nutritional plans, or just go to any kind of basic health and fitness, or trying to think like body compositions or anything like that, they can tell you all these great foods that you can eat. It's really as simple as a Google search. Top 10 healthy foods, right?
Yeah.
And they'll give you a list of good healthy foods. There's plenty of them. You can say, all right, what are healthy fats? And they'll tell you omega-3s and what has omega-3s. What are healthy carbs? Do I need simple carbs or complex carbs? And if you're looking for one or the other, it'll say, here's a list of X fruit or veggies, or these particular types of grains that have these particular types of carbs. And if you're looking for certain types of proteins, right?
Mhm.
Same thing. You want lean meats, they've got that. You want heftier meats with some fat in them, they got that.
And there's for vegans or vegetarians, there are so many other ways to get protein.
Yeah, because you did a vegetarian
Yeah, I was
diet
vegetarian for about a year, and I can cook some mean tofu. I even got my meat-loving father to say, I wouldn't order this in a restaurant, but if you cook it this way, I would eat some tofu.
No, I never did that. You're braver than I.
Yeah.
But even when you're doing something like vegetarian or a vegan diet, there are still plenty of drawbacks to it, right?
Yes.
And I think you had a problem with...
I think my issue also tied in with my mental health. I wasn't really in the best place, and I was insecure about my body, and I just got to where I was too restrictive. And I was very lucky that my, because like, you know, your yearly checkup, you have to get some blood work done, and the doctor goes over the blood work with you. And he was going over, and he was like, are you struggling with anything? And it was just kind of a wake-up call, and I was able to, and I wasn't too far into it, so I was able to bounce back somewhat quickly. And to this day, I still have to be very careful and not be super restrictive while not also overindulging.
Right, and again, every diet, no matter what it is,
yeah,
all of them are fads, especially if they're being advertised to you.
Oh, yeah.
They all have their drawbacks.
Mm-hmm.
The best diet is the one where you're eating a balance of fats, carbs, and proteins in a controlled manner, where you're not overeating anything that's calorically dense, but you're not undereating and starving yourself. If you can maintain that kind of balance, and it's quite easy to do, you will lose weight. You will get the body you want. It just takes a little bit of planning.
Yeah. And I completely understand why people would go vegetarian or vegan. Like, I'm an animal lover. I'm wanting to be a veterinarian. And when I first started, I was like, it feels kind of hypocritical to be like, oh, I'll save animals, but also turn around and eat them. And I do think about that sometimes. But I also know for myself, I can't go back to that because I don't want to fall back into that unhealthy mindset.
Right. You know, I say the same thing wanting to be a doctor. You know, people, I want to save them so I can't eat them. You know, but... What did I say?
Okay, Hannibal.
Again, it's to each their own, right?
Yeah.
But I think those are better alternatives, though, overall. Right? Fad diets are great. They give you some kind of guide. They give you these nice meal plans. They give you these nice workout regimens. They give you these, all you have to do is call in, pay us, and we'll give you X number of meals per week or X number of meals per day. My favorite are the ones that are like, hey, if you do our diet, we'll give you 4 meals a day and snacks. And it's like, okay. And you can do that, right? It's definitely probable, but there's no telling what's in the food that they're eating, right?
Yeah, like I remember in the early 2000s, the Special K diet.
Oh, jeez.
You only ate Special K, which I love some Special K red berry cereal. I can't buy it that often because I go through those boxes very quickly.
But that's another thing.
You don't eat just one meal bar.
No,
you never do.
But that's another fad diet, right? It's a mass, I'm not going to say hysteria, but it's a mass herd mentality of, this one diet has worked for this one person, so everyone needs to do it. And it can cause so many problems so quickly. And going back to what you said at the very beginning about yo-yo dieting, people go on and off multiple fad diets or the same fad diet, and they're constantly losing and gaining weight very quickly. And it's so bad for your body to do that.
It really is.
But again, going back to what we were saying, have your alternatives.
Yeah.
Be willing to buy stuff. Be willing to meal prep. Be willing to say, hey, what I'm doing right now isn't healthy. Or, hey, I've got a bad sweet tooth. Let me fix this. Yeah,
my bad habit is I love crunchy, salty things.
Right.
So, like Flamin' Hot Cheetos, chips, popcorn. The unhealthy kind of popcorn, like movie theater popcorn.
Covered in butter, salt, and whatever else that you want to put on it.
Yes. That's what makes it delicious.
Of course.
That's why the average female size in the U.S. is a size 16.
What?
Yes. I think that was true a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if it's true now. I'm honestly worried it might be a little bit bigger now.
Well, hopefully the health fad sticks around that we're having in the U.S. where people are really trying to, get healthy. Yeah. And I guess that is a benefit in the end for fad diets is it's a wake-up call to a lot of people to say, hey, maybe I'm not in the best of shape.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to start dieting. Maybe I need to start working out a little bit more, right? So there are benefits to doing a fad diet. Ultimately, I don't think you should follow any fad diet, but I think you should use it if you're considering doing one as a wake-up call to, okay, maybe I need to start eating healthy. Maybe I need to start working out. Maybe I need to start planning my meals. Maybe I need to start thinking about what I'm buying at the grocery store. Maybe I need to only stick to the outside of the grocery store, where I'm not going down the aisles of chips, cookies, all these canned foods and product, and you're just buying natural stuff that's fresh.
Yeah. And I know I don't know if they still do this, but I know someone who was on Weight Watchers for a little while when I was a kid, and they had these little challenges, like, go to the grocery store and try a fruit or vegetable you've never had before. And I think those can be very helpful because, it depends on how you grew up. Like, some parents are like, yeah, okay, you can have, like, the kids will have their food, the adults have the adult food. There are some families where the kid eats what they eat, and depending on how healthy the parents are, that could be good or bad. So I think doing little challenges and stuff like that, like, try something new this week. And if you like it, you can keep trying it. If you don't like it, that's okay. Try something new next week.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, for instance, going back to the try a new fruit every week.
Yeah.
Right? You can buy the fruits that you like, but just buy one random fruit that you've never had before.
Yeah.
Find a recipe that works with it if you don't want to eat it raw, right?
Yeah.
Or if you want to eat it raw, right?
Yeah, it's fruit.
Try it. See what you like, see what you don't like. And you'll be surprised to find out that a lot of the times you can get a lot more of the stuff that's fresh for cheaper than the canned stuff or the pre-made meals.
Yeah. I love the summer because that's when kiwis go on sale. And kiwis are my absolute favorite fruit. They're so great in smoothies.
Yeah, but I think a good way to round out the fad diet talk today is just don't fall for fad diets. Don't pay for them.
Yeah.
Especially if they're asking for unnaturally large amounts of money.
Mm-hmm. Take that money and go into a gym membership anyway. That has like a lot of class options.
Yeah, find a gym membership. Go to the store. Buy healthy, fresh produce. Don't buy anything that's bagged or canned. Stay away from anything that's sugary. If you can cut out soft drinks and sugar, that'll mainly knock off a lot of your weight.
It really will.
And that's a lot of things that, again, as Americans, we struggle with because it's so easy to grab a soda.
Yes.
It's so easy to grab a cookie. It's so easy to grab a donut or something sugary, right?
And people don't think about liquid calories.
Right. But if you look at any fad diet, they always cut those things out, or the ones that don't say, hey, we even give you a dessert at the end. The dessert has almost no sugar in it or no whatever in it. So
it's like eating chalk.
Yeah, so you're practically eliminating it anyway, no matter what the fad diet is.
Yeah.
Right? So as a tidbit and as a final for this podcast, I would say, if you're thinking about doing a fad diet, think about your health, think about what you're eating, think about, are you working out enough? And find ways to improve your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good place to end it.
I think so too.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time on the Dumb Thoughts, Smart Talks podcast. Goodbye.
Thanks for hanging out with us.